Good afternoon. My name is Marcus Pochner. I'm a land use and community outreach consultant for Foothills Regional Housing. I'm honored to present to all of you tonight in anticipation of a Planning Commission hearing to be held on October 16th. This is for our Ridge Road site on behalf of Foothills Regional Housing. This is our full team. Foothills Regional Housing is the applicant for the site. Our company is in charge of community outreach and land use consulting, and then we are working with Design Concepts. Design Concepts is our planner and lead architect and working with the community to do something we call reflective planning, to learn and implement the vision and elements we hear from the community and implement them into a site plan. As was discussed by Stephanie, who did a terrific job from the planning standpoint, really talked a little bit about the project location. The thing I would note here, and we'll come back and talk about all the edges, but just how unique so many of the edges on this site are, right? As we have residential, educational, a regional facility, industrial, commercial, a fire station, really a mix of uses all around this site, but very importantly, grounded along the Arvada Ridge Station and the Arvada transit line, and how important that is really to have an important transit corridor right next to the site. I want to give a little project history on this site because it's really important how it frames how this site, not only the disposition from the state, the ownership by FRH, Foothills Regional Housing, and then the proposed uses. It's all reflective of this project history. So first of all, just get a little bit of property overview. Almost 11 acres, 10.89 acres on this site. It has these 7 abandoned buildings that have now been abandoned for over 30 years, these vacant and underutilized properties. Way back in 2021, the state of Colorado started having discussions about this site. The state legislature actually went through a process, determined that these buildings were abandoned, should be demolished, and this was a potential site for affordable housing. Then, as you see in the third bullet, Foothills Regional Housing actually purchased this site in 2024 from the state of Colorado, and this site must be utilized primarily for affordable housing and education uses under the terms of purchase and sale. We are completely reflecting that goal and bringing that to light in this site. Most importantly, the site is also being remediated. We are working on that site remediation at this time. We have worked very closely with the neighbors, so they are certainly aware of that process. The site really has been in some state of disrepair in that 30 years of being abandoned, basically, and we're now really improving that property. We think that's a very important step in working with the neighborhood to bring a much more safe site to their adjacent neighborhood. Let's talk a little bit about FRH and who we are. These next 3 slides are really focused on the applicant and the type of affordable housing they provide. They are the housing authority serving Jefferson County. They've actually done so since 1975, and they currently serve over 3,000 units. Or 3,000 households. This is a remarkable organization, very experienced, and runs terrific developments and really understands this process. I would go down to the third bullet there. The approach for FRH is to include both housing and services, right? In-house service coordination at the senior facilities. And our goal always, which this property is completely emblematic of, is to locate housing near transit, employment, grocery, medical, and do not over-concentrate poverty. Folks, we want to provide great locations for our future residents, and that's exactly what this site is, really taking advantage of the transit opportunities and all the surrounding government and neighborhood services that are at site. Who we serve, FRH, this gives you a great example. We really have kind of a dual chart here. It's important to understand it. On the left-hand columns, we show the maximum rents that would be allowed from an area median income, AMI, and then that corresponds to the income limits of who those individuals are. We have highlighted the 60% AMI. We are going to have a range of AMI residents on this site, but our target average will be 60%. So we're really using that as an indicative. So if somebody was in a 2-bedroom, their maximum rent would be $1,891, and it's a 2-person, let's say, household, they can make an average of $67,260. So we just really showed this throughout the community process so people understood the income limits and who was living in these facilities. Half of our residents are children, a third are elderly or disabled, and nearly half of our adults identify as female. Just this shows you who those are. These are real jobs, real salaries, real housing. It shows that this is for police officers, for grocery leads, for teachers, even for nurses. We absolutely plan to work with Red Rocks Community College to bring forward a nursing school. We not only want to provide housing, we want to provide educational, and we want to serve our community in multiple ways. So these are the type of people that will be living in this facility. Let's talk a little bit about site context. You can see we are surrounded by residential on the north and west. Red Rocks Community College and the Wheat Ridge Regional Center really embedded a little bit in our site. We wrap around that site industrial and multifamily or mixed use down to the south and west, or south and southeast of us. And then, of course, the fire department that is just to the west of our site. Again, really reinforcing this buffer, the transition that we become on this site, transitioning from more of a transit, heavier use, more density, up to single family on our north and west. This is what we seek, a balance between the guiding documents and our community feedback. These are our two driving principles for our site. We first looked at the underlying comprehensive plan and the municipal code. This actually shows the zoning in Wheat Ridge. Very important to understand that. Obviously, we're going through the Wheat Ridge process here, but we actually looked a step further and really looked at the full comprehensive zoning context. We wanted to understand the Arvada context to the north of us. As you see, PUD, single family residential. Wheat Ridge single family just to the west of us. Then seeing the educational complex, the industrial south, and really seeing that mixed use transit. We are within the transit separation of a half mile. We are in a transit station area. So really looking, how do we pull the proper zoning into this site? This is the plan guidance. You can see here at the very top of the map here, the project site. We are in a transit village. A transit village is centered around a rail station, promotes appropriate residential density, and really brings forward those neighborhood services. That is exactly what we are proposing, is gentle density across the site, being cognizant of our neighbors to the north and west, and really doing an appropriate land plan. We are requesting here a zoning from MUC, from Agricultural 1 to MUC TOD. That's mixed use commercial with transit oriented development. You can see we're right on a commercial corridor. We allow residential and civic uses, and this would be a TOD, a transit oriented development designation. We will spring forth 200 affordable housing units on this site, a site for Red Rocks Community College, and potential for another community partner providing services on the south end of our site. We are meeting every element of the MUC TOD, really working in the view of what the city wants to see at this site. The second part of our outreach is really grounded in community outreach. We have done 4 formal community meetings, have had over 150 people, met individually with many people afterwards, and have had including meetings at their houses. But we use something called the concentric outreach philosophy. We have focused on the most adjacent neighbors, like the Skyline Estates, and incorporated everything they've said and found that balance to really provide a great site. This is our process. We showed individual neighborhood meetings with the northern neighbors, the western meetings, and then this collective neighborhood meeting back in August to really show what we learned from you in these individual forums and how we have collected that feedback. This is what we saw in the surveys. This is the answers that we said on the left, the questions on the left, and then the answers on the right. Who needs housing? This is what the community said. The types of housing. They wanted to see lower heights, generally 1 to 4 stories, senior housing, family size, and who should we partner with? They want us with Red Rocks Community College, and we agree. We want to provide a full mixed-use site at this location and really find the appropriate scaled density and housing and mix with other uses on the site. This shows a few of those, the other ways we did engagement, where we see the challenges and the opportunities, and we bring them back. So the common opportunity, have senior housing, provide some parks and open space, bring infrastructure into the site, always deal with appropriate density at height and traffic, and please don't affect our property values. We are not. We believe we're going to be a very additive. That transitions us to this concept plan. We show it here really to show this is how we've done reflective planning, where we've learned from the feedback from the community. So on the right here, it says what our concept plan envisions. Senior housing, family housing, an expansion of Red Rocks, really in that building labeled 3 across the site, higher height or lower height on the north, and then as we go to the south, we'll transition to a little more height. That's because we slope to the south. We're also providing all of the site improvements that are important, really providing that we're into the fabric of the community. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe we're in full compliance with the approval criteria. As you see, we must comply with one of the following. We are actually consistent with 3 of those. We are consistent with the comprehensive plan, a major change in the neighborhood with the development of transit territory, and we are providing affordable housing and educational opportunities on the site. We very much look forward to the hearing on October 16th, and we look forward to addressing any questions at that time. Thank you very much.